Pretty quiet in the shop now. It's just died down over the last couple of weeks. Peak of the season. Be 10, 12 deep back here. Buzz is going off outside on the petrol constantly. Not much to write home about at the moment. Just getting a few things cleaned up. We've got 1.5 days left. This is the water filtration plant. It's a bit of high-tech gizmo, just to make sure that the water's drinkable. When the creek's up, the water gets pumped out of the creek. There's 3 settling tanks up the hill. It comes down into a settling tank down here. And we pump it into there. And that goes through this system and out the back into this main tank out here. So yeah, it's either pumped out of the creek or from the bore. Currently on the bore because the creek's dropped down a bit. But everyone's responsible to make their own clean drinking water. So every property has one of these. Otherwise they're drinking dirty water. This is the accommodation out the back of the trading post. Just basic workers' dongers. And there's 9 in total. But number 1 and 2 have been our quarters for the past 5 months. So these 2 right here. So yeah, this is it. Basic kitchen. We've been using our camp cooker. There's a toilet and shower. We haven't used this shower. And the lounge room. At least there's aircon because it's been bloody hot. But yeah, pretty basic. But we're out of the elements, so not too bad. And then number 2 is the sleeping quarters. The toilet and shower. There's a couple of single beds which have been like our walk-in robe. And then the main bedroom. So not too bad, pretty small but got pretty used to it. And yeah, that's it. That's the cabins are in a few different jigs. There's 2 doubles down the end. That's a family, number 3. And the rest of them are set up like a single bed down one end and a shower toilet in the middle and a single bed up the other end. So it's just like a shared donger. But yeah, pretty cozy. So we're going down to the tip now. One of the interesting things about Innamincka is it's one of the few places left in Australia where there's like no services. There is a Telstra tower and the trading post actually supply the power for the Telstra network. There's actually no services like electricity, water or rubbish collection. So there is a tip where it's just a pit and you just throw your rubbish into it. There's no bins. A lot of tourists, most commonly asked question is, where's your bins? So there is a sign as you head out of town pointing you this direction. But yeah, I think someone mentioned this, it's one of 3 places left in Australia without services like electricity and water. So as I said earlier, everyone's responsible, or each property is responsible for their own water and their own electricity. And everyone's responsible for their own rubbish. Not the prettiest sight, but the crows love it, and so do the kites. So when we burn it, it's a bit of a task here to get all them fellows out of here. Which can be quite difficult. Speaking of the Telstra tower, I've got to go take the meter reading, being the end of the month. Some little corellas have made it their home. G'day! Not too happy about it. 98070. Telstra tower. Works 70% of the time, all the time. When everyone comes into town in the afternoon in the peak season, first thing they all do is get on their phone and the whole system goes down. So it needs a bit of work, I reckon, particularly as this place gets busier with the Strzelecki track being paved. But anyway, part of the responsibility, check the meter. As I said, Trading Post supplies the power to here. So one of those things you got to do at the end of every month. Even though there is power lines here, they were only erected because of a site just up the road from here. A geothermal site was to provide electricity to the town. And I actually managed to work a few days up there and was part of the demolition of the place. But basically it got fired up and it blew up. So it was abandoned and had to be returned to the previous state. This is the ranger station where Ranger Paul and Penny live, take care of things. They're on leave at the moment. We've said our goodbyes. And it was a pleasure getting to know them and hanging out with them when we did. And they're up here at the top of town in what we dubbed the Innamincka Heights, just by the airstrip. So yeah, they get the best view of the whole town, especially at sunset. And that's the 3 settling tanks in regards to the water. So all the water gets pumped into them. So yeah, settled 3 times and then down the hill into town. Plumbed out to everybody's property. And then each, as I said, each property is responsible for the filtration and cleaning of the water. Or treatment of the water, I should say. So it's been a very interesting place to work. We've learnt an absolute shit ton, seen a hell of a lot of this beautiful landscape out here, and basically got a pretty good insight to how people live out here. And it's quite interesting. You don't have some of the leisures of more main centres, particularly Big Smoke. Your mail plane comes in every Wednesday, so you can't just duck down to the shops. You can't just like fix a car. Everything's got to be a bit more planned, and you tend to make do with what you got and bush mechanic a whole lot of things and reuse a whole lot of materials, and you just don't throw anything out willy-nilly. Everything gets reused, even down to food that's looking like it's going to be off in a couple of days or is starting to go bad. You cook something else with it. So yeah, it's very interesting lifestyle out here, and it's a real eye-opener and a real education. and it's been quite a pleasure being out here. It's been absolutely brilliant. The whole community's been spectacular, very sociable, just great people. And if we were 5 years into our trip, I reckon I could have probably talked Michelle into buying that place right there. Pretty much abandoned at the moment. But anyway, back down to the shop, and I think most little jobs are done for the day. Cook a few burgers for some workers. That's about it. It's one of the other little projects we did, a community project. Built this fence and planted some trees. So it'd be interesting in a few years' time to come back and see how it's all coming along. But they've grown at least a foot or two since we put them in. Taking care of the weeds is a constant problem. Most of the weeds are native though, so it's good for the ground. But you just got to go through and get rid of anything that isn't native, really, pretty much. That'll be an absolutely beautiful little park one day. So yeah, they're all coming along quite nicely. This area out here's been pretty much ground zero for me. A lot of work's gone in out here. Put this shelter up. It was all just from bits lying around. Same with the fence. It's 106 metres of fence. Sank all the holes. And yeah, Mick and I put that together. I painted it all from leftover corrugated iron we just find lying around wherever you can, all the fixings. Been a pretty big project. This is going to be some powered sites, 6 of them, and yeah, it's an ongoing project. There's a couple of things need to be fixed up, and then that'll all be gravelled, and yeah, some people can come in and plug their caravans in or whatever. So you do get asked constantly by people come in and say, where's the powered sites, where's the caravan park? And it's pretty unbelievable. But yeah, no one seems to do their research. They just tend to drive around and, you know, pull into somewhere like here. One, they expect accommodation even when you're fully booked, and yeah, and a lot of questions like, where do we plug in? Where's the caravan park? Oh, how can I run my aircon if there's no power? So it's pretty funny. But anyway, this will probably be finished for next season, maybe. And yeah, I've been spending my afternoons watching the sun go down in the hammock, listening to tunes in there. And as I said, this has pretty much been my ground zero, getting all this sort of done until it came to a screeching halt. But anyway, it's a big diesel tank. There's a 30,000 litre tank out the front, and this one here is about 50 or 60, I think. And there's another 8,000 litre, and in the peak season we're having to fill that up every 2 or 3 days. That's how fast you tear through the fuel. But yeah, it's only an 8,000 litre tank, and the unleaded's only an 8,000 litre tank too. But the unleaded's getting used more often now with a couple of those American cars, the Dodge Rams and the Jeeps coming through. There's a lot more people using unleaded. Yeah, pretty dead here at the moment. Peak season, caravans, camper trailers, 4-wheel drives all over this car park. So it's nice to see it a bit quiet. Goodbye, Innamincka. It's been great, hasn't it, though?